everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the Introduction to Intuit Enterprise Suite. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here we go. In case we haven't met, my name is Jacqueline, and I have the privilege of leading ProAdvisor training and certification, and I'm delighted to be your host on today's webinar, which is all about IES. So before getting into the nitty-gritty, I find that it's always nice to ground in the why. Why are we here today? Why are we spending the next 90 minutes together? Really, the goal of this training is to give you more context behind the introduction of Intuit Enterprise Suite to our lineup of products and ground in how this can be of service to you, your firm, and your clients. So you'll hear from a few incredible leaders who will give you more of the business context behind the product and help you understand how it can help you achieve your goals. And then you'll see demos of the product in action, and we'll lightly touch on the roadmap of what's ahead. So let me touch more specifically on what's coming up. We'll start with the overview. So we'll talk about the why, key features, best fit clients, and benefits for your firm. So in this, you'll really get that full business context of Intuit Enterprise Suite, which you'll hear me call IES for short. Then we will take a deep dive into the actual product itself. So you'll hear from Daniel, who will show different aspects of the product, including accountant access, multi-entity, dimensions, industry customization, project management, and FP&A. So lots of exciting things there to dive into. Then we'll round it out with how do we partner? So hopefully you're excited about what you see, and we definitely want to touch on how you can take next steps so that way you can start delivering more value to your clients. So we'll talk about how you can sign up your clients, revenue share for yourself, and additional resources for you to engage in. And then we'll have 10 to 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. So my colleagues Daniel and Debbie will come back on and answer some of your questions and then talk about where we can go from here. There are many of you and a few of us. There is a wonderful team working hard behind the scenes to answer your questions, but I would just ask you to have grace and patience with us as we will not be able to get to all of them, but we'll do our best to respond to as many as possible. And I do want to address up front that one thing we will not touch on in this webinar is the pricing of IES, because there's a lot of nuance to how we price it. And that's all part of how we partner with you. And that's something we'll be excited to have more discussions about following this webinar. All right, so I will introduce Debbie and Daniel. You will meet them in a sec. Debbie is an incredible marketer. She's based out of Atlanta with her growing family, and she leads cross-functional teams at Intuit, and she is dedicated to creating the best possible experience for you, for our accountants. She lives and breathes accountants, so she really is a wonderful advocate in helping influence teams to build products with the accountant experience in mind. She's fantastic. And Daniel is also fantastic. He himself is a former CPA turned techie who's now in this space building products really grounded in the CPA and accountant experience, bringing these two different sides of his work life to bear. And he's really done an incredible job of influencing IES for the community. So I'll be excited for you to meet them in a sec. All right, a little bit more housekeeping to get through. So if you are here and in the market for CPE credits, be sure to be present for at least 75 minutes, and you can earn up to 1.5 CPE credits. However, you will need to answer at least 2 poll questions. We will have numerous polls throughout the presentation, so fear not, we've got you covered. Just be sure to engage with at least 2 of them. If you meet those requirements, those 2 requirements, then your CPE certificate will be emailed to you in up to 3 business days from accountant_training@intuit.com. Sometimes this does go to junk, so if you don't see it, you can check your spam or your junk folder, or you can shoot us an email and our hardworking team will help you out. All right, so those of you who have tuned into other webinars or are a part of the In the Know program will know that we've moved off of our old webcast provider and onto this wonderful new platform called Goldcast. So some of the functionality will hopefully feel familiar, but looks a little bit new. So let me just get you oriented for a sec. On your right-hand panel, you'll see that there is a Q&A tab. This is where you can ask questions to our team. The chat, it's there, but it's not enabled for this webinar. So you can go ahead and ignore that. Just be sure to pop your questions into the Q&A. We ask that you focus your questions on the content that's being presented today. If you have questions that are specific to your firm or your clients, our care team is on the ready to support you, and you can reach out to them through dialing that number that's on your screen. All right, when we launch a poll, polls work a little bit differently in our new platform than they did in Zoom. So just want to make sure that you feel comfortable here. When we launch a poll tab will appear in that right-hand panel in the same place where your Q&A is housed. There will be that little red button there. You should also receive a pop-up. And all you need to do to submit your poll answer is click on your answer. There's not an additional step where you have to click submit. So by simply selecting your answer, that's paramount to submitting it. So we've got you covered there. All right, and then finally in your right-hand panel, there's Docs. So in this, you can easily download the handout from today, so that way you can follow along with the slides or circulate this at your firm. So go ahead and head over to the Docs so that way you can download the handout for today. All right, so with the housekeeping out of the way, I'm thrilled to invite my colleague Debbie to present and really dive into what is IES and why this is so exciting. So Debbie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for the warm welcome, and we're so excited to have you here. We are thrilled to be launching Intuit Enterprise Suite, and I'm excited to speak to you more about why we created this product. I first want to start with grounding in some of the insights that we heard loud and clear from you and your most complex clients. A great example came from Tyler Evans. He said, "I would describe my operational ecosystem as a Frankenstein. It's a hodgepodge of pieces from various industries and best practices that we've pieced together to make work." And we really heard loud and clear this pain point that it's more complex. You have those needs for these clients, but you really need to wrangle together various solutions across different platforms and offerings to really get to the level of functionality that these clients are needing. And it's hard to manage across your firm, as well as just really getting to that end-to-end visibility from an insights perspective, making your team as well as your clients less productive and getting in the way of growth. More specifically, we heard this desire that your clients are looking for multi-entity functionality. They need a solution that can really work across multi-dimensions. They're also in general looking for better access to insights, and many of them are starting to have more unique industry-specific needs. And you're also, as mentioned, just looking to make sure your data is flowing seamlessly to reduce errors, drive workflow efficiencies for both your firm and your client. And on the right, you can see a little chart of what this feels like. It's just all of these different complex needs that you're trying to address across all these solutions, and you're wrangling it together. We also heard from your firms loud and clear that ideally, if we're able to solve for some of these gaps and pain points, you would love to be able to keep your existing clients within the QuickBooks platform. It's already familiar to you and your teams, which would reduce training time. And we also know that it's timely and costly to migrate for both your firm as well as your clients. It also allows you in general to potentially attract more complex clients, as well as retain those that are with you for longer if you have that right software solution that your firm's already familiar with. So that brings us to why we created Intuit Enterprise Suite, which we are thrilled is now launched and available so that you can keep growing with a more powerful suite to really boost that productivity for these complex clients, all in one solution. It gets you to faster decision making as well as visibility across their portfolio with a lot of the functionality that you've been hungry for so long. So let's get into some of the details. We know that each of your clients are unique. So we intentionally built this as a configurable solution so that we can best meet your clients' needs. It's AI powered so that you can increase productivity as well as enhance profitability for your clients' growing businesses all in one place. And we start with the base of really serving all of those key needs to be met across getting customers, ensuring your clients are able to pay and get paid, getting them access to capital, managing workforce, getting access to advice when it's complementary to what you're already providing as a firm, as well as just in general providing compliance. It's powered by the familiar platforms, QuickBooks and MailChimp, so you're already familiar with what it provides. But on top of that, we get you to that enterprise level capability that you've been hungry for. So from an enterprise financial management perspective, you're going to now have access to revenue recognition, things like intercompany transactions, AI-driven FP&A, more workflow automation across ARAP, as well as some of the industry-specific functionality that you've been desiring. Beyond that, it has all the multifunctional capabilities that you have been asking for a while now. You're going to have multi-entity capabilities so that you can handle things like intercompany transactions and consolidate reports with ease. You're going to have access to up to 20 user-defined dimensions so you can simplify your chart of accounts and track your business based on your needs across the suite, how you see fit. There's multi-users as well as all of the role-based access and controls that you're looking for so that you can confidently allow both your team as well as your clients into the books without having to feel like they may get access to sensitive data or various permissions that you don't want them to have access to, so you can really drive that efficiency. And the thing that's most powerful about this suite is because you're pulling all these workflows together into one platform, you're going to unlock business intelligence. We're enabling real-time KPI dashboards so you can track the most important metrics for your client's business across the board. You'll be able to quickly get to consolidated reports across their multi-entities, as well as just customize reporting to the next level and get to some of those industry-specific reports that are so important to your clients. Now that we've done a quick overview of Intuit Enterprise Suite and how it's built, I do want to recognize the fact that many of you have questions, likely based on the naming, that what is the difference between this and QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise? QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise is still a solution available, and we are going to still have this available because we do know that this has certain capabilities, particularly for clients that have unique manufacturing and warehouse operation needs, and we'll still be recommending it for those clients. Meanwhile, for your complex clients that have service or project-based businesses or heavy e-commerce operations and will benefit more from being cloud-based, we are recommending this new Intuit Enterprise Suite as the best solution for them. Now that we've done the overview, I do want to walk you through how this package is configured so it best meets your clients' particular needs. We're not going to go into pricing information in this webinar, but you will see here what comes as standard and what can be configured to create the right package for that specific client. From a jobs to be done perspective, for financial management, you're going to start out with a single or a multi-entity package. And beyond the multi-entity package, you'll be able to add on the right level of entities that your clients need, up to 100. From a multi-dimensions perspective, it's going to include 4 dimensions, and you'll be able to layer on top of that additional dimensions up to 20. It will come with 5 standard users. Coming soon, there'll be unlimited free users, which are view-only users, to be able to see things like reporting, invoices, etc. And 1 super user who's going to have all access to permissions, granting access, upgrading, and changing the configuration of IES and things like that. Additionally included is Bill Pay Elite with a waived monthly fee, as well as access to our preferred payments rates. Beyond that, if it's right for your clients, there'll be additional solutions for an added cost. You'll have the opportunity to bundle QuickBooks Payroll, QuickBooks Time Elite, MailChimp Premium. And just to note, as you're adding and bundling additional solutions, there will be negotiated discounts for those additional offers. From a premium end-to-end professional service perspective, your clients will have access to dedicated customer success managers, as well as a top-tier mid-market product expert. Beyond that, if your clients need, they'll be able to access implementation and integration services, as well as customized training and reporting at an incremental fee. And during the sales discussion, we will be evaluating their specific needs and quoting what those services will look like based on their specific requirements. And as mentioned, from an add-on perspective, you'll be able to layer on additional entities, additional dimensions, as well as additional users. Again, pricing will be customized based on this configuration and the number of users needed, and any requirements will be negotiated at preferred rates. So once you're ready, we do encourage you to call our teams to really unpack what those needs look like and get you to a better understanding of what it means for your client. Now that we've done an overview of Intuit Enterprise Suite, what it does, how the pricing is structured, I do want to ground in who we are recommending this for as the best fit client. We are recommending the solution for any complex client that is US based with all of their entities, generating over $3 million in annual revenue, and particularly for those that are multi-entity and looking for that multi-entity functionality across all service and project-based businesses. For complex single entity clients, we also recommend this product, particularly for those that are requiring multi-dimensional reporting. And this includes, but is not limited to, those that are working in construction, professional services, admin services, tech, and non-professional. In general, if they have unique industry-specific needs, we are also recommending this for complex clients within construction, nonprofit, service, project-based businesses, and professional and service businesses. And we're going to have more seamless third-party app integrations with premium apps such as Notify as well as Builder, and we're just getting started. As mentioned previously, we are still recommending QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise for clients who have operations in manufacturing and warehouse fulfillment. Meanwhile, if your clients are more generally working with inventory and order management and require more of a deeper understanding of how their omni-channels are performing, we are recommending Intuit Enterprise Suite. So now I'm going to pivot to how this will benefit your firm. So the great thing about Intuit Enterprise Suite is it enables your firm to grow with a platform that scales for your most complex clients. It allows you to simplify handling multi-entity clients and serve them on a platform that you and your clients already know and trust, reducing that training time for both your staff and clients on a new software. It also streamlines client management so that you can work more efficiently by having them all on the same solution. You'll have the ability to automate more processes and scale confidently with time-saving features, including consistent chart of account templates, custom roles and permissions, custom reports for clients with similar business profiles, and we're continuing to double down our investment in this space. It's also going to allow you to increase efficiency with automations across your workflows through seamless third-party app integrations. You'll have the ability to connect data with AI-powered automations to reduce steps, eliminate those integrations, and seamlessly connect your workflows. You're going to also empower your clients to make more confident decisions. With easier custom reporting, you're going to have quick access to real-time data through these customizable data dashboards so that you can advise your clients on the next best action for them to take with their business to move it to the next stage. You're also going to have the ability to attract high revenue clients with the right platform that's built for them, as well as retain them for longer. So now that we've done an overview of Intuit Enterprise Suite, what it does, which clients this is right for, I'm really excited to hear from you. What most excites you about Intuit Enterprise Suite? Is it greater reporting, industry-specific needs, workflow multi-entities, or training and affecting most complex client entities, multi-dimensions, workflow, efficient tracking your who you have on the line and what's most exciting for them? We've had so many discussions and surveyed so many accountants, but I'm excited to see what's most important to this group.
Hey, Debbie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I am curious to hear from you. We were just on the Mountain View campus for our partner council a few weeks back. What were the things that some of the counselors were buzzing about or that you've heard the community buzzing about?
Yeah, so multi-entity has been a pain point for a very, very long time, as has multi-dimension. So I'm not shocked to see the initial results popping up on the screen. I do know all of these are super important, but I think those are some needs that have been asked time and time again that haven't been solved in the past that folks are going to be really excited for.
Awesome. Well, just on a quick housekeeping note, as a reminder, sorry I didn't say this earlier, that poll tab in your right-hand panel should have that little red dot by it. So go ahead and go there and just click on your answer and we should see it on the screen. So you'll have 60 seconds to respond to our polls. We have multiple polls throughout the presentation. So I think, Debbie, why don't you go ahead and maybe talk through the results we're seeing and then we can keep it flowing.
Awesome. Yeah. So unsurprising, multi-entities is popping to the top with about 58% of folks on the line rating that as their top, followed by multi-dimensions and industry-specific needs. Again, we know all of these are important. We're going to continue to double down, and I'm excited to hand it over so you can learn more.
All right. Sorry. Daniel, if I could go ahead and invite you to come on. Debbie is going to exit the stage. Debbie, thank you so much for sharing the overview. Daniel, it is over to you now to give us our deep dive or our whirlwind tour of the accountant experience and the other features you have in store.
Yeah, totally. No, thank you. Okay, so to kick us off, we are going to cover the accountant experience, and then we'll dive into some of the actual capabilities in IES. So to start off is really what that view is when you log into QuickBooks Online Accountant. And if you have clients that are on Intuit Enterprise Suite, you will notice that there is a new tab there in your client's view called multi-entity. And so if you click on that tab, you'll notice now clients of yours that do have a group of entities that are part of IES or Intuit Enterprise Suite will show up in a hierarchy view here. Well, you'll have the header being the parent company, and then you'll see all the different companies in that group below that header. So it'll be an easy way to kind of organize and view your client base that is on the suite and has multiple entities. Now, those same clients will still show up in your regular view on the left there, but you'll also see them in the second view in the hierarchy. Now, I will mention that we are looking to eventually merge this hierarchy view into the regular one. And so you'll just have one client list where you'll have the individual clients that are in a group and the ones that are in multi-entity showing up with that hierarchy there. So that is something we are looking to launch fairly soon. But in the meantime, you do have the separate view that we can easily identify the different entities within those groups. One thing I'll also mention is that the My Books in QuickBooks Online Accountant is still going to be advanced. So it is not going to automatically get upgraded into IES, at least not for now. And so I think this is something that I get asked fairly regularly. Will we get access to IES in order to see how it works, use it for our own practices? And so the answer in the short term is not through QuickBooks Online Accountant, but we are exploring other avenues of getting accountants like yourselves access to some sort of demo environment, because we do know that is important. But for now, this is still something we are working on behind the scenes. All right. And then when you are actually on a client that is actively on Intuit Enterprise Suite, which is the view you see here, you'll notice the left navigation is different, right? It now has the new designs that we have for the Enterprise Suite, where at the top it does say Intuit Enterprise Suite, and then the bottom it's kind of cut off, but it'll say powered by QuickBooks. And you'll know that you still do have your accountant tools here at the top there. I have a little arrow pointing at it, so you'll still have all those regular accounting tools you're used to, except now they will be on the Intuit Enterprise Suite, where the layout is a bit different. And so want to make sure folks here are aware and have that peace of mind. Oh, okay, next we're going to talk about the 5 key features. The first being multi-entity. And so I'm going to do a demo, so bear with me here. All right, so we started off on the dashboard for Keystone Construction, our parent company in this group. The first thing we notice is this drop down at the top left. Now, some of you may be familiar with this drop down because you have the similar experience on QuickBooks Online Accountant when navigating across your different clients. Well, now we've actually brought this experience into the Intuit Enterprise Suite for multi-entity organizations. And so now when your clients log in, they'll actually be able to easily traverse between all their different companies with a couple of clicks. So in this case, I'm on Keystone Construction, but I could easily jump between companies to Keystone Terra, which is one of my subsidiaries, as well as jump back to construction, my parent, as needed. So it works in a very similar manner as the QBOA company switching tool. Now, if you log into this company or client of yours with QuickBooks Online Accountant, you will have a very similar experience, except when you click this drop down, you will see all your different clients, at least the ones you have access to, showing up in this drop down, whereas your client will be limited to just the entities that are linked in their group. In this case, here is that list of entities. Okay, next, we're going to look at user management. So we go to the gear icon, we click on Manage Users. And now you'll notice a new drop down here at the top called Users and Roles For. And when you click this drop down, you can actually switch between companies. So from this one view, you can easily look through the user list for any of your companies. So if I click on Terra, this will update and show me a list of users under Terra, or I go back to construction and it'll show me a list of users under construction. Next, I want to show you how to add a user across all your entities in a couple of steps. So we click Add User, we give them a name, give them an email address, let's spell that right. There we go, 3rd time's a charm. All right, And so now we've got the profile. Next is which companies do we want to give them access to? So in this case, it's defaulted to construction because that is the company I'm in now. I can go ahead and add all the other entities that I want to assign, in this case, all of them. Now you see the list here. Now I can go one by one and give a different role per entity, or I can select all, assign role, and let's say in this case I want to make this new user a bookkeeper. In one shot, I can assign the bookkeeper role across all the related entities. Now, let's say, for example, maybe for Volt, I want to promote this employee and make them an in-house accountant. I can do that. And so I'll have a mix of roles. Maybe here I want to make them a company admin and so on. And once I'm comfortable with this list, I click send invite and send invite. And then now it will actually send one email to this new user, Valmal, where once they accept it, they'll actually immediately be granted access to all the different companies along with the respective roles we've assigned them for each of those companies, saving lots of time on our end from having to send out, let's say, 8 or 9 different invites, as well as from our employee side from having to accept and onboard to all those different entities one by one. All right. So now we covered some of the more of the management side of multi-entity. We covered the company switching tool, which again is going to save your employees time from having to context switch and use the switch company route, right? Which takes lots of clicks and lots of kind of focus and context switching. Now they'll be able to do it with a couple of clicks from the drop down here and really stay on task or really focus on what they're looking to accomplish and not have to kind of switch gears before coming back to their tasks. And we talked about managing users kind of at scale, which helps with segregation of duties, which increases your peace of mind of having control over the access across all your entities. Next, the new multi-entity option on your left navigation. Here, you'll notice 3 shortcuts at the top. First is view organization here on the right. So when you click that, this is just a visual representation of the hierarchy of all the entities within your organization. Now, right now, we support 2 levels of the hierarchy, so parent and child, and up to a total of 100 entities, as I believe we mentioned earlier in this presentation. Eventually, we're going to be increasing both the limit of 100 as well as the level of hierarchies that you're going to be able to have. So right now, it's 1 level. Eventually, you'll be able to have not only children, but grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So if your subsidiaries may have investments or ownership stakes in other companies, you'll be able to add them to the hierarchy and get a nice high level of visual representation. And the utility just begins to increase as the org structure gets more complex. And this gives you a nice high level bird's eye view over that entire hierarchy. All right, next we're going to look at intercompany accounts or selecting intercompany accounts. And so what we use this for is really selecting the chart of accounts that you will be having automatically eliminated when you do your consolidated reporting. So for example, well, here I have a list of all my companies. And so for example, if I click on construction, which is my parent company, I've selected these 3 accounts. 2 are from the balance sheet. 1 is from my P&L. And I'm saying all 3 of these need to be eliminated when I do my consolidation, right? And I have the same thing for Terra. I've got these 3 balance sheet accounts, but let's say I want to add an additional P&L account, in this case, management fees. So let's say Terra charges management fees to some of the other entities. I select it, and now I've got management fees here as well. There it is, all 4 of those. I can continue adding as needed. In this case, let's say that I'm happy with the selection. I click done. All right, so now we've selected our intercompany accounts that we want to get eliminated when we do our consolidations. Next, we're going to do an intercompany journal entry that is, again, exclusive to the Intuit Enterprise Suite. So I'm going to click Add here. And now you see a familiar form, the journal entry form, except now we have an additional column here on the left called Company. And here we're actually able to select which company we want to post this journal entry to. So for our example, let's say we want to post a management fee from Terra to a couple of the other subsidiaries. So let's go to management fee, which is an income account. And let's say it's for $2,000. And then let's say we want to create a due from Volt for 1,000 and a due from Bluecraft for $1,000, and then we do those other companies' side of the transaction. So we go to Volt, and we say now we've got a management fee expense of 1,000, and then we go to Volt and we do a do-to for 1,000, and then we do the same thing for Bluecraft, where we have our management fee. Whoops, our management fee for 1,000, and we have our do-to for 1,000. All right, so now we see that we're balancing debits equal credits. We're happy with our allocation, and we go ahead and click save. And so now this will post this journal entry directly to all the companies I've listed here. So I won't have to go into each individual company and post their side of the transaction, saving me and my clients essentially lots of time. Another example here is, let's look at this one. Okay, so this is another management fee. Let's keep going. Let's look at this one. Okay, so in this example, it's a bit different. We're not charging a management fee. However, we have Keystone Terra that actually gets charged insurance on behalf of itself, as well as two of the other subsidiaries, in this case, Bluecraft and Volt as well. And so what we're doing here is we're reversing that expense of insurance for Keystone Terra. So we're crediting it for 2,000, and then we are putting through a due from Volt and Bluecraft for their portion of that expense. And then on Volt's side, you can see they're now owing Keystone Terra 1,000, and now we're debiting that expense for insurance for 1,000, so their portion of it. And then same thing for Bluecraft. We now owe Terra $1,000, and we've now incurred a $1,000 insurance expense that Terra paid on our behalf, and now we owe that money to Terra. And so once again, when you're doing allocations for things like bills or expenses, you no longer have to manually keep track of things kind of in a separate spreadsheet, and then maybe weekly or monthly or however often you'll do your bulk posting for those allocations. You can do it all in real time through this journal entry and through one form, rather than having to go to each individual company and post their side of that transaction. And again, having to keep track of all of that and then reconcile it. This just streamlines that whole process. All right, so now we're comfortable with our work structure. We have selected our intercompany accounts, and we've actually just used one of them, the one we selected, which was the management fee on Terra in our intercompany journal entry. Next is, let's say it's the end of the month, we want to run our multi-entity reports, being the consolidated financials. So we click on that. This will prompt you to download and install Spreadsheet Sync. And so follow the instructions if you haven't already done so. And then if you have already done so, or you've completed these instructions, you can click Let's Go, and it'll actually launch Excel for you. I'm going to open Excel. Bear with me. All right. Once you're in Excel with Spreadsheet Sync, you click on your icon. Now, I have 4 icons here. These are staging environments. You will only have one. Once you click on that, it'll open the login screen. Then I'm already logged in. You may have to go through a couple of steps to log in. Then you click Run Multi-Entity Report. And I have the group selected as multi-entity org. You could create your own groups. So let's say you don't want to necessarily run the consolidation across all the entities. Maybe you want to do just a few of them. You can go ahead and select which ones you want and create a new group. I'm going to go ahead and run with my pre-existing group that I've created in the past, which includes all the entities in this group. First, we're going to start off with our balance sheet report. All right, so now we have our balance sheet report, and you see all the different entities here at the top, as well as the elimination. And let me scroll to make sure you see I've got all of them captured here. And then you scroll down and you see some of my elimination accounts that may look familiar. These are all from those drop downs that we looked at a few moments ago. Let's say we want to actually now look at our P&L. We edit the filter. We make it our P&L. We run that report. We will do it in a new sheet. So we keep our balance sheet over here. And so now you see all the different entities on the P&L, as well as your elimination column and your total consolidated balance across all the different P&L accounts. You can do the same thing for your trial balance and cash flow. I'm not going to show that right now, but you can do those with the click of a few buttons. And then let's say you actually don't need eliminations, and so then you can use the without elimination section for all those same accounts, or rather, sorry, all the same reports. Okay, so that was a walkthrough of the current experience in Intuit Enterprise Suite for the multi-entity functionality. Now, I know we have dedicated Q&A at the end, but I'm just going to get ahead of a few questions I know are kind of flowing through the Q&A section. The first is, if you already have clients that have multi-entity organizations and they're on QuickBooks Online, whether advanced or any of other SKUs, you will be able to actually upgrade them fairly seamlessly into Enterprise Suite. So there is no migration involved. You will be able to just take them and connect them. But in order to do that, it will be a discussion with an account manager, and they will process that contract in the back end and make all those connections on your behalf. And so I just want to make sure that is clear, because we get that question all the time. Okay. Next is what's coming soon. And so these are the enhancements we're really, really excited about that are going to be launched in the near future. And so we'll start from the management side. And I think I actually saw some questions about this in the chat, in the Q&A as well. But you'll be able to control your dimensions as well as your chart of accounts centrally. So you'll be able to create a new dimension or a new account, and then control which entities it'll get pushed down to. And then using our RBAC or role-based access controls, you can actually limit who in those individual entities, or you can actually prevent anybody from editing the chart of accounts. And so they won't be able to go in and make any changes, and you'll be able to control centrally from, let's call it the management layer. We're also going to have multi-entity dashboards, meaning when you log in, you'll have almost like a dashboard layer that goes across all your entities, and it gives you a view for all your KPIs, whether financial or otherwise, that pulls across all the entities. Right, so think of like a P&L, or rather, let's call it profitability graph over time with all your entities captured, or cash flow across all your entities, and then maybe a list of all your entities with their balances on the right of that widget. That's something we're actually working on right now. So really, the idea there is a 360 view across all the entities with all the key KPIs on that dashboard. Next is the accounting side, so allocations. And so in the demo I just showed you there, I focused on the intercompany journal entry, which is live now and still super powerful, and will have a lot of utility long term, especially when you're thinking about management fees right between entities. But another very common use case is let's call it allocations for bills. Right, so company A gets a bill on behalf of a group of maybe 15 companies, and then you have to go and allocate those. Right, now I gave that example in the intercompany journal entry. Right, it's a kind of a extra step. What we're looking to do is actually streamline that directly from the bills form. So when you get that bill and you enter it, you will then be able to, within that same process, allocate it either by percentage or by amount to all the entities within the organization. And we'll also have, it'll have some intelligence built into it, so that as you do your allocations, it will learn how you break them up and provide suggestions for you as well. And then that's not just for bills, it's also going to be for expenses, and we'll also support doing it directly from the bank feed. And finally, reporting. So what I showed you was the reporting through Spreadsheet Sync, which essentially is in Excel, which, I'm an accountant, I love Excel. And so that is staying. But what we're also looking to do is actually bring it to IES native reports. So you'll be able to run your consolidated P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, and trial balance all within Intuit Enterprise Suite without having to do it in Excel. And then you'll be able to take advantage of all the additional customizations that we're bringing forward to our reporting infrastructure. So there's going to be some that are more formatting related, some for custom calculations. There's a lot of that's coming over the next, let's call it, 6 months to 12 months. And this consolidation reporting will be able to take advantage of all that customization and formatting, again, without having to export first. Okay. So now I'd love to hear from you folks. and we have a poll for you. So the question is, what is the most important list to have central control over, right? So think of it, you've got a multi-entity organization, and you want to control the either chart accounts, the vendors, customers, or dimensions. And so the question here is really, which one would you want to prioritize?
All right, gang, if you head over to that right-hand panel, click on the polls tab. Just a reminder, all you need to do is select your answer, and then we can see the results in real time here on the screen. So you'll have about 60 seconds to answer. So Daniel, as people are doing that, I'm actually going to ask you a question about yourself. I think it would be interesting for folks to learn a little bit more about you, given what a huge influence you've had over IES. Can you tell us, how long have you been at Intuit? Where are you based out of? And how has a CPA sort of influenced your point of view on the product?
Yeah, totally. So I've been with Intuit for about 4 years now. I've been in product for, say well over a decade, but I did start my career as an accountant. So I am a CPA, and I feel that having that kind of core foundation really helps with being able to really empathize with our key customer base, right? Whether you are an in-house accountant or an external accountant, having that foundation and knowing kind of what they go through in order to serve their clients or their companies. I think that brings a lot of insight when I do work with the product side. So, being here really lets me take my two passions, accounting and building product, and combine them and impact businesses at scale, small and mid-size, which I love.
Ah, that's wonderful to hear. Well, I think your hunch as an accountant was correct that most people selected chart of accounts. We have over 1,000 votes for chart of accounts. So why don't I let you take it away?
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. All right. Let's go back to my deck here. Give me a moment. Okay. Next is dimensions. All right. So I'm going to demo our dimensions now. Here we go. All right. So we're back on Keystone Construction, the parent company. However, let's say we want to go into Keystone Terra, one of the subsidiaries, to look at our dimensions. All right, so first thing, we go into the navigation to the gear icon and we see dimensions here. All right, so now I see my classes, which is original, meaning this is what I had on my QuickBooks Online Advanced company that I upgraded into Intuit Enterprise Suite, so that gets carried forward. But then I also created my own custom user-defined dimensions, in this case customer type, earthwork, utilities, and concrete. I can create additional dimensions by clicking new dimension, and I could also deactivate these, or rather make them inactive, any of the new dimensions I created previously. So I can go to customer type, I can make it inactive, I can rename it, I can add some additional options or subdimensions. Same with earthwork. In this case, there's only 2. Utilities, right, and concrete. You can create up to 20 user-defined dimensions in IES or Intuit Enterprise Suite. So now that we have our dimensions, let's put them to use. And so we go to new. Let's say we want to allocate an expense. So you fill everything out, and then once you're ready to input the line items, here you'll notice additional columns for those dimensions. So in this case, let's say this is commercial and general. Let's say this is earthwork, it's grading. Utilities wise, this is related to gas, and concrete, let's say it's slab foundation. And we do that for all our different line items. We click save and that will post accordingly. I'm not going to do it now to save some time, but let's assume that we've been doing that. And so now we are actually able to code individual transaction forms to all our new dimension fields, which ultimately is for the purposes of slicing and dicing our reports. And so let us go into our reports. Once we're here, we can scroll down and we will notice a new report under business overview called profit and loss by dimension. Now we still have our profit and loss by class. This is the old class that got migrated over, but we're going to go by dimension. And so we start off with a regular P&L for this company, Terra. Then we click display, and now we can actually do it by specific dimensions. And so in this case, let's say we want to look at it by concrete. And so we see our concrete dimensions, and as you can see, we haven't gone through the exercise of allocating historic transactions to those new dimensions, at least not all of them. For sales, we're okay, even though we still have a big chunk that hasn't been allocated yet, but we haven't done any of that for our other income line items or expense line items for that matter. So everything gets grouped into not specified. Let's move our columns around a bit to make this a little more user-friendly. And so now we see everything, and we see most of it is in non-specified. Okay, so what we need to do is actually go back and reclass all our historic transactions so that they're actually allocating to the respective dimensions that they belong to. And so we can actually leverage our reclass tool, which you folks should be familiar with, as it's available with QuickBooks Online Accountant as well as QuickBooks Online Advanced. And so here, let's say we just do find all transactions, and we'll notice that our dimensions are now available as options here on the right. So we can see the ones that are blank. So we can go ahead and reclass, and we're able to reclass across those new dimensions as well. They are now available fields in the reclass tool. So we go through that exercise of coding all historic transactions, at least for the last couple of years, so that we can run our reports and comparatives using those dimensions. And then once we've done that, if we go back to reports and we run a P&L by report, or even create our own custom report with those dimensions, we will have data allocated historically. And so another example is if we want to create a new report from our custom report builder, we can actually do it and have two different dimensions pivoted against each other. So in this case, let's say we want to throw in concrete, which we know is under invoices, it's under line items, and there it is. And then let's say we get rid of that, and let's see what else. We go back to our line items, and we see, there we go, there's earthwork. And let's throw in customer type as well. So we've got a few dimensions here, and now let's look for amount. All right, so now we have an amount line, and then we can go ahead and pivot this. So maybe we do concrete against customer type, values, amount line, and then we get that pivot. Now, as you can see, we don't have everything allocated. There's a lot of non-specified across both axes. But once we have done the proper allocations historically, all this will be populated, so we'll be able to see poured against commercial, against general, and so on. Now, last thing I want to show here is any of the what we call modern reports, so that are available in the modern infrastructure. And you'll know when that's the case with this little icon here, new enhanced experience. So any of these, for example, open invoices or unbilled charges, let's say unbilled charges in this case, we can actually use those dimensions in this report as well. So we can add them as columns, and they'll show up here at the bottom. So we can add them as columns, and we can also use filtering to filter by any of those dimensions. So for example, earthwork equals whatever it might be. And so now these dimensions are fully usable within any of our modern reports as well. Okay, so again, that's the walkthrough of the current dimensions experience. Hopefully that was clear. And so let's continue. And so what's coming soon with dimensions? So there's some capabilities or enhancements that we're really excited about. First is auto signing. And so this is really AI powered, where it's based on both kind of the history of how you're assigning dimensions to specific line items, but also looking at who the vendor is or who the customer is, and other information that we have access to, and ultimately presenting recommendations of, we think you would want to allocate this line item to these dimensions accordingly. You can accept, you can change it, do whatever you want. The idea here is we want to make it much faster and more efficient process for you. Then there's assigning it through the bank feed. And so instead of having to do it through a transaction form, we're also going to enable this at the bank feed level. So as your transactions are coming through the bank and you're categorizing, you'll be able to do the allocations to the dimensions then and there. And we will also have the auto assigning built in there. So you will have that kind of recommendation of a potential allocation, and then you can take the action as needed. We're going to have cross-entity dimensions. So as I mentioned before, you'll be able to control your dimensions at the parent level for all, or rather like at the aggregate level across all the entities in the group. But you'll also be able to run reports. So multi-entity reports, multi-entity and multi-dimensional reports as well. And then finally, forecasting. So right now, and we'll cover this in a bit, where we'll do a demo of the forecasting. But right now, forecasting is only available at the aggregate level. At the so all dimensions basically, so not subdivided. And we are looking to break that up, and you'd be able to do a forecast by specific dimension, similar to the way we currently support for budgets, which again we will actually cover in a few moments. Okay, with that, I am going to move the slide forward for our poll question. So, what is the most critical feature you would like to see added next for our dimensions specifically? Is it dimensional APIs for third-party apps, so you can sync data seamlessly into IES dimensions? Is it multi-entity reporting for dimensions? Is it batch import transactions utilizing dimensions? Or is it default value setting for dimensions on products and services? With that, Jacqueline, do you want to launch the poll? There we go.
Yep. Poll is launched, so go ahead and pop into that panel. Daniel, as folks fill out the poll, some of the questions that came up in the Q&A were around wanting some compare and contrast between dimensions and classes. Would you be able to touch on that?
Yeah. So I'll say they're mutually inclusive. So really what dimensions is expanding the number of classes. So with QuickBooks Online Advanced, you have really one class and one location. A location can be added to excuse me, to the header of a transaction, whereas a class is at the line item level within a transaction. But you only have one class. Within that class, you could have unlimited dropdowns, so options to select from, but really there's only one class category. With IES, you're going to be able to take that one class and actually have up to 20 different, think of it, classes, really, it's another way of putting it. So you'll have 20 different classes, all with unlimited dimensions, unlimited dropdowns underneath, with up to a limit of 5 in the hierarchy, right? So you can have like subclasses and subclasses of subclasses. So you can have 5 of those, and then unlimited actual dropdowns for each one. So again, the idea here is with QuickBooks Online Advanced, you can have one class with unlimited dropdowns. With QuickBooks Online Plus, you can have up to 40 in that dropdown. With IES, you can have unlimited, but you could also have up to 20 of those classes, which we are now calling dimensions. So hopefully that clarifies it.
Really helpful. Thank you for the answer. And as you were answering, it looks like we have a clear winner. So over 56% of folks voted for multi-entity reporting for dimensions. So hopefully that's a gem you can take back to the team.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, onwards.
All right. So next is, 1 second. All right, so we covered dimensions. Next is industry customization. So let's share our demo here. As soon as you log in, you land on the homepage dashboard. Here, you'll notice a number of different KPI widgets. Since we are initially focusing on the construction industry for our industry customization, you will notice the KPIs that are specifically tailored to the construction industry. In this case, unbilled charges, project expenses, project progress, and others. Now you can go ahead and actually add additional widgets or remove those already here by clicking Add or Remove. And here you'll notice core financial widgets such as accounts payable, accounts receivable, expenses, cash flow, and others, as well as those that are specifically related to the industry in question, in this case construction, such as estimate versus actual cost, estimate versus actual income, and others. Once you're happy, you click Done, and then you can actually further customize the layout by clicking this and moving things around and resizing them as needed. Now let's say you see an anomaly in one of the widgets and you would like to drill down deeper. You can click on Go to Report. This will take you to the underlying report where you can do further analysis to get to the bottom of any questions you might have. Next, we're going to go to Reports. And here, under Standard Reports, we notice a new section called Recommend for Your Industry. Here, you'll find a set of reports that have been tailored to the construction industry, such as project costs by vendor and project, committed costs by project, profit and loss by project, time by employee and project, estimate and progress invoicing summary by project, and others. So as mentioned, we are focusing on the construction industry at initial launch, as well as professional services, and we will be expanding to additional industries throughout the year. But for construction specifically, what we're next going to release is what we're calling cost codes, which are specific identifiers assigned to various expenses incurred during a construction project. And so typically they're categorized as costs such as materials, laborers, subcontractors, and equipment. And each code typically corresponds to a particular type of expense. And so these are generally modeled as numbered bundles or services in QuickBooks. And each transaction for materials, laborers, equipment, rentals, subcontracting fees, they should all be assigned to specific cost codes. And this level of detail in expense categorization facilitates a clear understanding of where funds are being allocated, ultimately helping identify any budget overruns and underspends, for that matter, in real time. And so we are bringing those forward. And then we are also going to, or the next industry we're looking to really double down on is professional services. And so there you will also see a unique set of reports that are meant just for professional services, as well as unique KPI dashboards that we know are going to be relevant to those businesses. Those are still currently being under development, but they should be launching fairly soon. And then for both construction and professional services, we are also going to release a tailored set of workflows, and that's part of our workflow automation area within the product. And they will be kind of customized and pre-configured in ways that we know are relevant to those specific industries, as well as chart account templates. So we know accounts like yourselves typically will have your own set of customized templates that you use for the different verticals that your practices focus on. We will be providing kind of a base template that you can then customize further, but this will be based on a lot of think of it across all the different focused on construction and professional services based on research across many different companies. And again, you'll be able to use this as kind of a starting point and then customize further as needed for specific client needs. All right. Next is our poll question. So which industry customization would you find most valuable? Is it industry-specific reports and KPIs? Is it industry-specific functionality and compliance? So think construction, AI building, grant management for nonprofits, industry-specific terminology. So like I mentioned, cost codes for construction or even proposals for professional services, or tailored dimension templates. So similar to what we're doing for chart of accounts, have us bring that forward with dimensions that we know are commonly used for specific industries. So that should be now available in your poll section in the chat. So please go ahead and take a look and give us your thoughts.
Thanks, Daniel. Okay, in the Q&A, there's some interest about how to use IES for medical clients. Anything you could touch on there, or any tie-in to how the medical industry might relate to professional services and some of the work on the roadmap you just hinted at?
Yes. So if you're in healthcare or your clients are in healthcare, one thing to be clear is we are not HIPAA compliant, at least not yet. This is something we are looking into, but as of now, we do not have a HIPAA compliance certification. And so you should not be inputting any personal health information, PHI, into IES. However, having said that, what we've seen fairly common is customers will use IES or QuickBooks for that matter, more for the accounting bookkeeping, and they'll have other software, third-party tools that actually do a lot of that patient billing and anything that will actually house that patient information. And so that is what we recommend if you are looking to do or use IES for healthcare is, again, you make sure not to put any of that healthcare or personal health information within the product itself, at least for now. But like I said, we are looking at becoming HIPAA compliant, and once that is the case, we will make sure to spread the word far and wide.
Thanks, Daniel. Well, looks like most of our answers are in, and nearly 50% of the votes went to industry-specific functionality and compliance.
Not surprised, but industry-specific KPIs are a close second, so also good. I see votes are still coming in, so I will give another couple seconds. We're almost at 50% for the functionality compliance, so that's good to know. And not surprising either. Okay, so next is, 1 second here. After every poll, I have to reorient myself here. So we are back to our slides here. Okay. So next is project management and financials. So I know we just talked about industry customization, but really project management financials, I mean, where we see it most impactful is, again, construction and professional services, as well as nonprofits for that matter. And so it is still tailored somewhat to those industries. So it dovetails nicely from the previous section we just covered. And with that, I am going to walk you through a quick demo of the current experience. And here we go. All right, so next is projects. We're going to start off with a new project manager role created specifically for project-based businesses. So we go to manage users, we go to roles, we scroll down, and we see a new project manager role. Let's click in and take a quick look at what that means. So from a sales perspective, they have view access across all the different sales transactions, but can actually create and edit only estimates. Expenses, they can view all the different expense side transaction forms. However, if you do want to give them more access, you can through all the checkboxes here. They have inventory, view only, lists. They have view across all the lists except employees, and then they can also create customers, but they can't edit them afterwards. For bookkeeping, they can view bank deposits, but nothing else. Accounting wise, they have no access for chart of accounts, for register, reconciliation, or journal entries. And obviously for projects, they have full access. Nothing for FP&A, nothing for payroll, and the reports, they have access to project reports, but nothing else. However, if we did want, we could give them additional view or customization access for some of the other reports, whether it's expenses and vendors, either everything or just specific reports under this header, sales and customer, and budget and forecasts. And as the other reports onboard onto the new modern infrastructure, those will also be available for customization. All right, so that is the new project manager role. Now let's jump into projects. So as soon as we open projects, we land in the projects dashboard with all the key KPIs based on project financials. And so in this case, you can see estimates versus actual income versus costs, and so on. All this data is pulling across all your current projects. You can customize the layout if you'd like, so move things around, resize them, and you can change whether you want this to display based on payroll expenses or hourly costs, as so. All right, next thing is under manage settings, we have something new called manage workflows. So if you click this, this takes you to our workflow templates, and you'll notice 4 new workflows that are specifically developed for project financials. The first one here is get reminded about project expenses. So get updates when project expenses are higher than your estimated costs. You've got another one for a reminder about projects. So remind specific people to update projects for info, whether it's due delays or due dates. And then one of my favorites is notify about project invoicing. And so here you can actually assign folks to invoice projects based on their progress. So if you have a system where you invoice at 25%, at 50%, at 75%, and 100%, various amounts, you can set that criteria into the workflow, and you'll get reminders when it's time to invoice those clients based on the project progress. All right, going back to projects. Now let's jump into actual specific projects. So we'll go to all projects and we're going to go into, in this case, tidal wave. You'll notice at the top, we have our key KPIs. So estimates versus actuals, as well as profit margin and open invoices and overdue invoices. Now, profit margin is a new one where we actually have an AI-powered forecast that compares your goal, in this case 35%, to the projected actuals based on the trends and current status. And right now, in this case, we are forecasted to be below our target. And so we can click on Get Back on Track. And this is another AI-powered, what we call root cause analysis that will tell us why we are off track. Now, we're in the early days and still working to fine-tune this experience, but ultimately it tells you, or rather gives you insights into why you're off track for your profit goals. So in this case, you've got your description of the issue, you have evidence being a supporting report that you can click into and dig into yourself, and then a suggestion on what you can do to potentially stem this issue and adjust it to get back on track for profitability. And so it gives you a suggestion and a task you can create. In this case, the task is to assign to individual to review this one line item and see why the actuals are so much greater than the estimate. You give it a name, you assign it to an individual. It's automatically linked to that project with a due date. You can add some attachments if needed, and then you save it and it'll assign that task to that specific individual. In this case, we've already created a task, so you would just view task and it would show you that task. And once you've gone ahead and made those changes, it'll help you stay on track going forward. We just mentioned assigning tasks to specific employees in order to get our projects back on track to profitability. That is a great segue to the new task management in projects. So now you'll notice a new option here called tasks in the subheaders. And under there, you have tasks that are directly connected and related to this specific project, which you can create by clicking Add Task and actually assign to individual colleagues who need to manage a specific task for that specific project. Now, those individuals will be able to see those tasks in their task manager, in their central task manager, as well as within the individual projects themselves, as you can see here, where you have the status, who created it, who is assigned to, and when it is due. And so that way you can manage these accordingly. Next, let's talk about change orders. So under Add to Project, you can go to Change Orders. We select an estimate we want to link this change order to. So in this case, let's say estimate 206. Let's say we want to add a new feasibility study we didn't expect originally. And let's say it cost us $1,000. And let's say we're going to mark it up by 50%. It's going to cost, we're going to charge our customer $1,500 for it. And then at the top here, you can see the total change in cost, the total change in income, the previous profit margin, and the estimated profit margin based on this change. So if they accept it, we will boost our profit margin to 10.8% for this specific estimate. We're not going to submit it, but if we did, it would send that out for the customer to accept. Finally, let's talk about the new project reports. So you'll notice we've got 4 reports for this specific project available. So project profitability, time cost by employee, unbilled time and expenses, and estimates versus actuals. Beyond that, we've got an array of additional project-related reports, many of which those of you who use QuickBooks Desktop and Enterprise will be familiar with. And we have now brought them all to online. And so now we have all the key critical reports for projects. You can read through them like cost to complete, committed cost by project, profitability summary, unbilled time and expense by project, and so on. Okay, now I saw some Q&A coming through while we were looking at the demo. One thing that I saw come up quite a bit is the WIP report. So the WIP report is now going to be available. I don't know if you saw that on that screen, the demo. It was there. I didn't call it out, but it was there. And so WIP is there. And then something else that I saw in the Q&A a bit earlier, and I didn't cover here, but we do have integrations, actually custom integrations built out for Notify. And so you'll be able to actually connect your projects from Notify to IES and have it auto sync all the data back and forth. You don't have to enter it, in both places. All right, I know we are probably tight on time, so I'm going to jump forward to what is coming soon. And so we'll start off with project budgets. I would say this is probably the most important one. I might actually skim through some of the others. But with project budgeting, this is something we've heard from time and time again. We need budgeting to incorporate projects across the P&L and the balance sheet for that matter. And so we are working on this. And so once it does come to fruition, if you will, you'll be able to actually use reference data. So use past projects as kind of a starting point, or even import the budget from either third-party tools or even from Excel, giving you like good access to reference data, similar to the way our current budgeting works. And then we also allow custom groupings, right? So you can have like milestones or phases, whatever makes the most sense for your business. And then we'll also have the ability to port that directly into an estimate or quote that you'll then be able to send out to your prospective clients, customers, and then ultimately, as the project progresses, you'll be able to do estimates or actuals versus budget type of reporting for those projects, tying directly from the quotes and the budget itself. We'll also have automated cost allocations. So think of these kind of recommendations on how you want to allocate the various costs to projects, similar to what we talked about from multi-entity as well as dimensions. We'll have a new report, so unpaid bills by project and vendor. We know this has been a big hot report people have been asking for. And we're going to have enhancements for hourly cost rate calculator, including overtime. And then finally, we'll have added customization to existing project reports. So right now, when you see them, you can't really do much. Eventually, you'll be able to actually add your own columns, move things around. And then I think I saw another question earlier, different context, but about custom calculations. So that is something we're also working on, to add the ability to do custom calculations within either pivots or even flat data file reports. So all that is also coming. Okay, I am going to speed through this, unfortunately, because I know we are very tight on time right now. So quick poll question: how would you like to manage and review budget revisions for your projects? Do you want to treat each change to the budget as a new version of the entire budget? See a summary of the budget versions, emphasizing the overall effect, dollar change or version number on project estimated cost. Compare all changes at the line item level in a single view, or only view approved changes to the budget as new versions of the entire budget. All right, have at it.
Daniel, as you mentioned, we are a bit tight on time, so we'll make this poll a quick one. If you can go ahead and quickly submit your answer in the poll, I would say let's go ahead and move to your final section of this, so that way there's plenty of time for Debbie to touch on how to partner.
Yes, okay. Let me find the right slide for that. All right, the final one is financial planning and analysis. And so I won't give it a preamble. I will just jump right into our demo. Last, but certainly not least, is financial planning and analysis. We're going to start with forecasts. Now, with the Intuit Enterprise Suite, you'll have an AI-powered forecast that looks at the last 5 years' worth of P&L data to forecast out 2 years. You can then view detailed forecast, which will show you the forecast line by line of your P&L. You can edit the forecast to make specific changes. Let's say you're going to make some sort of investment or some kind of expense is going to come up. You can enter it as needed. You can save it, or you can actually make it into a budget. And now you have a starting point for your budget. Now you can save that budget, or you can actually create a new budget altogether. And with Intuit Enterprise Suite, you can actually create a subdivided budget by dimension. So in this case, let's say we want to create one for customer type. And let's say we want it at the government, commercial, and residential level, although we could go one hierarchy level deeper if we wanted to. We can also pre-fill the data based on previous years, similar to existing functionality. And now we have our budget. Next, let's say we want to make a change to a specific cell in the budget. So let's say maybe for November, I want to throw in $10,000 for sales. I can then add a comment and annotate this. And post a comment. So that anybody else reviewing this will be able to see the comment and understand where this value came from. Now I'm going to disable comment mode, and I'm actually going to add a task. Please review your BU budget. And I'm going to select my business unit head. In this case, it's Michael. He's the business unit head for this specific department. And when I save this, it'll automatically create a task for Michael. When he logs in, he'll see it. And I'll do the same thing for my other BU head. And let's say in this case, it's Avery Cook. And so that way I can create my budget top down, and then I can have my business unit heads verify and make any additional changes from a bottoms up perspective. When I'm happy with this, I can click save and submit for approval. Because I do have an approval workflow set up, it'll now go through the official approval process. First to the business unit heads, then to the finance manager, to a controller, and then finally to our CFO. And you can see the status here as pending approval. All right, I had one more thing to show there, but I think I covered the key elements there. And so in the interest of time, I'm just going to jump forward quickly. Coming soon, so you'll be able to forecast by dimension as well, so not just budgets. And then when you do the forecast by dimension with the AI-powered kind of predictive technology, you'll be able to convert that into a budget by those same dimensions. We're also working on a far more detailed and complete and accurate 12-month cash flow forecast, which you can then cut even however you need, really, by months or even by weeks, right? You can create a 13-week cash flow forecast. Again, using all that proprietary data we have within Intuit Enterprise Suite. And then we're also going to have goal management with root cause analysis. So you'll be able to do a kind of a P&L budget, let's say. And then if you're off budget, you can have a root cause analysis actually analyze that budget for you and tell you exactly why your goals are off, or at least give you some insights, and then also recommend actions to take to get your P&L back on track. Okay, so with that, we have one last poll, and then I will pass it over to Debbie. And so in this case, what is the most critical feature you would like to see added next? Link 3 financial statement forecasts, balance sheet forecast reports, which is forecast versus actuals, scenario planning, or cash flow insights.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to acknowledge that there's lots of questions that have come in through the Q&A. Even if we're not able to respond, our team does review the questions after the fact, and it really helps give internal teams here at Intuit a pulse of what's top of mind for the community, what matters most to you. So please do keep your questions and comments coming through. Don't be discouraged if we haven't had the chance to respond. Well, Daniel, this one, like the last one, I'd say for the sake of time, let's go ahead and wrap up this poll. If you could share out the answer.
All right.
Perfect. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for that whirlwind tour of Intuit Enterprise Suite. Really energizing to see what you and your team have built, and excited for the roadmap ahead. No doubt we'll be doing more Pro Advisor training and certification, so Daniel will not be a stranger to this community.
Looking forward to the next one.
Thanks, Daniel. Well, let me go ahead and welcome Debbie back to the stage. Debbie, come on over. Would love to hear from you on what folks can expect. If they're excited by what they've seen, or if they have more questions, how can they partner with Intuit?
Jacqueline. So just a very quick recap, because I know we're short on time. You will be able to access IES through QuickBooks Online Accountant and still layer on top of that all of the accountant tools that you have available. And we're continuing to build out what those look like. The 5 key features that we went over today are multi-entity functionality, multi-dimensions, deep industry customizations, project management and financials, and financial planning and analysis. So from here, I wanted to very briefly highlight how do we partner. So today, when you go into QuickBooks Online Accountant and go under your quick links, you'll have what you see on the screen as this IES referral form. That'll give you the opportunity to refer your clients that are right for IES once you have that client identified and you're ready to talk to us. So you'll be submitting both your client information as well as your information, followed by the opportunity to schedule a call with us. You're also going to have access to this form when you add a new client through the Add Client flow within QuickBooks Online Accountant, as well as when you go and access your existing clients in your billing and subscription as one of the drop-down options when you're looking to upgrade them. And I also wanted to mention, as a thank you, when you identify these clients that are right for IES, your firm could be eligible to receive $1,500 if you refer the client to Intuit Enterprise Suite and it results in an active contract and you are an active participant in the Pro Advisor Revenue Share Program. Now, you can absolutely refer clients over to IES prior to your firm being approved as part of that revenue share program. But by the time they activate and pay for that first billing for their active contract in order to be eligible for this bounty, you will have to be approved. And that process, just so you know, takes typically 2 weeks. So just wanted to flag that. For every client that you do want to be eligible to receive this bounty for, you will have to submit an individual form for them. And I also wanted to wrap with how you can continue to learn more about Intuit Enterprise Suite. We appreciate all of your questions and engagement. And as Jacqueline mentioned, we will be going through them and it really helps us. But we will continue to provide more resources both through our Intuit Enterprise Accountant website as well as our Firm of the Future. We'll be coming out with more product explainer videos, case studies, blogs, and more. And we'll also provide the ability for you to schedule directly with us to have a consultation about your specific client's needs, even before you refer them over, to make sure you have all the knowledge you need. And keep a monitor on these sites because this is where we'll continue to let you know when we launch some of those new features and functionality that Daniel highlighted are coming down the pipeline. And we'd love to chat. So I'd love to hear from you which Enterprise Suite features you're most interested to learn more about. You can fill out the form that is available in your handout. There's a link there for you to schedule time with us or just put into the Q&A box what you want to learn more about so we can contact you and get you that detail that you need. Really appreciate everything. I know we're short on time, so I'm going to bring Jacqueline back on and we'll go from there. I think you're muted.
I just realized I was muted. Thanks, Debbie. All right, let me quickly wrap up here. We do have a final poll. If you could go ahead and tell us how likely you are to recommend today's webinar. It just lets us know if we hit the mark or if you're still hungry for more. This poll is private, so we will not share the answer. And again, it's really just for our training team. We do take your feedback to heart. So if you could go ahead and give us your honest feedback, that would be much appreciated. All right, I'm going to go ahead and zip through because I want to be sure to touch on how to receive your CPE credits. If you were here for at least the 75 minutes and answered 2 of our poll questions, you will get your CPE certificate within 3 days from accountant_training@intuit.com. Just be sure to check on your spam folder if you don't see it. And then finally, if you care to learn more, go ahead and pop over to intuit.com/enterprise/accountant. This is the hub for IES, where you can deep dive into the features and access those resources that Debbie touched on. And finally, let me just close with a big thank you to you. Thank you so much for spending the last 90 minutes with us, sharing. We know how valuable your time is and are really grateful for your partnership and excited to take that a step further with IES. So thank you so much.